We stay at some of the finest hotels in the world. Every time I check in, I ask myself, what is the carbon footprint? Is it environmentally friendly? And is green good business? Would you say it's possible to operate a five-star hotel of this caliber and at the same time be green?
Absolutely. There are many things that can be done here at the Lodge at Torrey Pines. Reclaimed water, so there's no potable water being used on the outside. Most of our plant material are natives from California, and actually the landscape palette here is derived from the natural landscaping in the Torrey Pines State Reserve, which is just a quarter-mile up the road. We have worked hard on our cleaning supplies and moved them away from chemicals to more natural products, and we found some things that work very well, more eco-friendly. And we've done quite a few things in our laundry, which is in-house, which services this hotel and two other hotels. We have been very successful in cutting our wastewater down there by investing in new laundry technology. And presently we're looking at additional technology to be able to recycle more water and at the same time maintain quality of the laundry that then comes back to the hotels.
So how did that whole local food movement come about?
It really just makes sense to chefs because we're looking for local, fresh products. And the more local it is, the more fresh it is, the less degrees of separation between us and the farmer there are, the better off we are, because when you can shake that farmer's hand and understand his values and his standards, that reflects the produce that he brings to us. And I think that shows on the plate. We get some great comments here in the restaurant on the freshness of the produce. And a lot of times I think people aren't even aware of our standards or locality of our ingredients. They just know it from eating it.
Right.
And then when I get a chance to speak to them, I say, oh, of course, because it's grown up the road, or
right.
That farmer's 10 minutes away.
Is being green good business?
I think so. When we talk about things that we do here to save resources, whether those resources are water, if I can save some electricity or some gas or supplies through chemicals or other things that we need to keep the place clean, then that translates to a savings for us. And if I can save money here, that leaves a little bit more money here or somewhere else that I can use to enhance the guest experience, to update the furnishings, to keep my hotel more contemporary, to improve the service levels, and even getting around to providing more benefits to employees. So yes, I think there is good business sense to being green. It all has to be proven out, but if you can prove it out, then we like to do it.
Now let's look at a company that says drugs don't have to be toxic, that pharma can be green. What is the Nativus technology based on?
Nativus technology is based on a theory called quantum electrodynamics. More specifically, it's based on Richard Feynman's contribution to QED, as we call it, the fact that photons are interacting with electrons between atoms. In fact, Dr. Feynman won the Nobel Prize for that work.
So Bill, maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself, your background.
I've been in the drug discovery business for over 50 years, and starting with my PhD in both chemistry and pharmacology, and then worked at Bristol Myers for 30 years. We discovered the first beta blocker, the first cholesterol lower, and then we got into the cancer field. Everybody else thought that treating cancer would never be a good business. We thought that was completely wrong, so ended up putting maybe 8-10 cancer drugs on the market, but almost all of them were licensed in. So we were looking at academics and other places for new types of approaches to cancer, and one of the last projects was an interesting one. It turned out to be Taxol, which became a billion-dollar drug very quickly, so it completely disputed the earlier hypothesis that you can't make money selling drugs for cancer.
What was it about Nativus's model that you found so interesting?
I think that we're changing the language we're speaking to the cell. Instead of speaking a language of a chemical that we apply to the cell, we're speaking a deeper language that I think affects the cellular receptors in a different way. Most of our world, when we interact with it, we interact electron shell to electron shell. Well, how about if we can use the signal that that molecule would make coming up against the electron shell of the receptor and speak that language without having to actually have a molecule that might be toxic or hard to deliver. And when I first saw that, my first impression was, this is outrageous. But after seeing the data, and especially after they started to do some statistical analysis where I could see the error bars, standard deviation, and what's called a p-value, that gives me an idea of whether or not this is really statistically significant. Once I saw the numbers on that, I'm sold.
Is this technology proprietary?
Absolutely. Starting all the way from our MID system that captures the drug signal, MID stands for Molecular Interrogation and Data System, all the way to the system that we call Voyager that transduces the drug signal to a dipole solution.
Would you consider this to be a radical development or more of a evolutionary process?
I suppose in a way it's evolutionary because everything that you do, all your equipment, the research equipment, all your knowledge is based on something that somebody else has done previously. But this is, I think, a radical approach because it takes all that previous knowledge and come up with what I consider to be a new paradigm. I think that this will probably have a lot more possible uses than we've even thought of at this point. But I think it is a pretty radical new approach to treatment, certainly of certain medical conditions.
Does the Nativus technology improve on existing options?
Yes, there are three things. It's very potent, so high potency. The second thing is it is non-toxic. We have showed in preclinical work that we're demonstrating that our first product, Digitax, taxane drug signal, shows no toxicity. The third thing is, and one of the most important, is it crosses all barriers. So it crosses all of the pharmacokinetic and physiologic barriers, which is one of the big problems in pharma today.
Lisa, you're involved in the business end of Nativus. What would your message be to Big Pharma?
I think the message to Big Pharma is that Nativus provides them with an opportunity to commercialize underutilized assets.
Bill, you led the team that developed Taxol. When you look at Digitax, what do you see?
It's similar but very different. It's similar in the mechanism by which it changes the structure of the tumor and eventually gets rid of the tumor, as well as appears to prevent the mechanism by which the tumor grows. And in that sense, Digitax mechanism is just like Taxol. It seems to do the same thing in the same way. What's different is the way it gets there. Taxol, you administer IV, it goes into the bloodstream, but it doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier. You want it to get in for a brain tumor, it doesn't get there. So you've got to inject this directly into the brain, and that's not so bad if you've already had surgery and taken half the brain out.
Doesn't sound very pleasant.
It's very difficult. None of that is required with Digitax. You simply drink the water and you're putting a field around that tumor in the brain, which then creates the same mechanism biologically that Taxol does in a petri dish or in an animal.
Taxol might be down the road akin to having taken a wagon across the United States, and Digitax could be like flying a plane.
At least Concorde.
At least the Concorde. California is full of great ideas and people with a passion for green business. But it's a big world out there, full of opportunities. Join us next time as we embark across the Pacific to Shanghai for Green Expo 2010. Next on The Eco Capitalist.